What's going on, guys? My name is Kyle. Welcome back. Now, if you've seen any of my previous content, you would know that we have a pretty ridiculous racing sim here. It is absolutely overkill, but definitely cool. Now, I use this racing sim for a lot of stuff. We do all the streams in the sim, I make YouTube videos with the sim. There's a lot of things that I do with the racing sim. And some of the main questions I get are, how many screens do you have? How do you set it up to stream? How do you make YouTube videos with it? When you start to move into a rig that's this ridiculous, sometimes the easiest thing can be the most confusing. Now, my setup might be a little bit different to the one that you're using. The way that I have mine set is I have 3 main monitors, 1 monitor for all the stream information, and I'm running 2 PCs. So it is very overkill. I understand that, don't flame me. So the reason that I'm using a 2 PC setup is just for the content. If I wasn't making content, or if I wasn't trying to get the best quality recordings or the best quality streams or anything like that, I would only be using the singular PC. But if you are somebody who's an enthusiast about content, or you want to start making content about your SimRig or anything along those lines, and you are using a 2 PC setup, hopefully this helps you, because it was very confusing for me when I first started. If you are only using a singular PC, you can absolutely still stream and play your sim and everything like that from a single computer. Not saying you can't, because there's definitely PCs out there that will absolutely do that to a level of quality that you're happy with. Like I said, our setup is very overkill, so don't feel like you can't make content if you only have 1 PC, because you absolutely can. I think I've just admitted to myself that I've spent more money than I needed to. So here's how we're gonna go through it all. I'm gonna show you the rig, I'm gonna show you what it looks like, I'm gonna show you where things are placed, and I'm gonna show you where the PCs are situated in retrospect to the rest of the room. After we've gone through everything and you get a bit of an understanding as to what I'm using and where it's all sitting, we're gonna jump into the office downstairs, and I might show you exactly how those things intertwine with one another to make the content that we're making. This video is more about a basic overview. I don't wanna go too far into depth about how to set up OBS, how to organize all your video capture. That's a different video altogether. This is more so just to explain how one PC gets information from another PC and how you make everything sync up to stream, say, on a single monitor when you're using the other 3 and things like that. In saying that though, if there is a question that you have that I didn't cover in this video, please leave me a comment. I'm happy to help as best as I can. I am by no means an expert, but if I have the answer, I'll do my best to help you. All right, so with that out of the way, let's have a look at a racing sim. God, I hope this works. This is a very weird angle. So one of the big things about having a rig like this is obviously it's freaking gigantic. It is massive. It takes up the entirety of this room, which makes it very difficult to get a camera in here. So I'm so sorry if this is weird. It's weird for me. I feel like I'm just staring at the ceiling to have this conversation. I hope my neighbors can't see me, because this would just look absolutely insane. So here you go. Here's the rig. Like I said, we have 3 main monitors, and that's for the SimRig itself. And then we have a monitor up the top that runs through all the stream information. That's where I have the stream PC plugged into, and that shows OBS and all of the alerts and everything else that goes along with streaming. If you aren't planning to make content and you don't have a stream PC or anything like that, the 3 monitors down here are more than enough. More than enough. Now, if you want to find out all the intricate details about things like the monitor model numbers, what rig we use, what steering wheel and gear we use, all of the small audio things that we have on that little shelf down there that I'll get to in a second. If you want to find out all of that specific information, you can go to our website, which is southstreetmedia.com. There's a whole section here on the SimRig. It has all of the models included in that description. You can go and check it out and find out exactly what we are using in this rig. So if you really wanted to, you could recreate this entire rig, okay? Okay, so this is essentially how everything's laid out. Now, like I said before, because I'm making content, I have a couple of other things that you may not necessarily need, but if you are making content or you want to mimic this rig or whatever the situation, this is how I have everything run. So I have a camera that sits on an Elgato multi-mount up here, plus the Elgato key light, just to help give the lighting with the camera focused on me here in the driver's seat. These ones are pretty obvious. I think you can tell what they are from a glance. I think I want to talk about these things on the shelf, because essentially everything on that shelf isn't necessary, but I use it with the content. So it's the way I'm justifying my purchases. So this is our audio tray. Now, I'm not going to spend a super long time explaining about what all of these little things do, but I'll quickly run you through it. So the first box on the left here, this is actually an audio splitter. And what that'll do is split between our headphone connection and our speaker connection. So if we want to listen through the headphones, we can flick the switch. If we want to listen through speakers, we can flick the switch. It is pretty straightforward. The one next to that does look like a guitar pedal, because it kind of is. This is the TC Helicon C One, this is actually an auto-tune pedal. If you've been to the streams, you know what this is for, but I use all of my auto-tune through a specific bit of hardware, not some software on the computer, because I feel like this is a little bit more reliable and I know exactly when it is and isn't working. So next to that, we have our Go XLR Mini. Now the Go XLR Mini for us is pretty important because it does route all of the audio that's being used on the SimRig and sending that information through to the stream PC to make sure that we have good audio going through to the stream. Again, I'll briefly explain how this works when we get downstairs. Next to that, we have our Stream Deck. Obviously, that just helps us operate the stream without using the Stream PC. It is only working when the Stream PC is on, which is even better, and it just means that we can operate everything within that computer just with the Stream Deck, which is freaking incredible. And last but not least, we have this DAC. So this is actually a headphone amplifier that's part of the Arctis Pro Wireless. So this is the base station for that headset. The reason that I've used that headset is it is one of the very few that actually have a line in and line out on the back of the headphone amp. What that means is I can route all the audio from the Go XLR into the splitter, all that sort of stuff, and then into the base station so I can change the way the audio works without having to plug it in via USB and change the whole interface setup. It's very confusing, but it makes sense. This also has a spare battery in there that's constantly charging, so when the ones in the headphone get low, I can just take it out of the base station and change it over. We've never got dead headphones. It's freaking amazing. Now that you understand our audio shelf, let me quickly run you through the rest of the rig so we can go downstairs and explain how this all works. So the rig that we're using is a Track Racer TR160. I love this rig. I've used it for close to 12 months. I use it pretty much every day. Never missed a beat. Now the shelf and the keyboard mount are both separate purchases. They aren't included with the rig, but if you do like having a keyboard like myself, really easy to access, it's absolutely a no-brainer. Now I know that this isn't very SimRig related, but I want to quickly talk about the keyboard because it saved my bacon. So this is the Corsair K57 RGB wireless. Now the reason that I went with this keyboard is I can use the same keyboard for both PCs. It's freaking amazing. So I have a wired connection and that runs to the SimRig, and I have a Bluetooth connection with a USB dongle that gets plugged into the Stream PC. So by pushing a couple of buttons on the keyboard, I can alternate between the wired connection and the Bluetooth connection. So I don't need to have another keyboard hanging around to change things on the Stream PC. It's literally as simple as pushing some buttons and it'll change it over. It's amazing. One thing that you probably will learn from this video is that I'm a bit of a Corsair fanboy, okay? I'm gonna apologize in advance. So now that we've gone through the audio shelf and the keyboard tray, I think we should probably quickly touch on some sim racing equipment because I mean, we probably should. So the wheelbase that I use is the Fanatec CSL DD. I do use it with the boost kit, so it has the 8 Newton meters of torque. I use with a Formula rim and a round Club Sport RS rim. I have done videos on both of those wheels separately, so I'll leave those in the description if you want to check them out. Down here we have the Fanatec shifter as well as an eBay handbrake special. If you don't have a handbrake and you don't want to spend a fortune on buying a branded handbrake, definitely try out one of these eBay handbrakes. I've had this for close to a year and a bit. The only thing I've had to do is put some yellow electrical tape in lieu of where the foam handle was because that came off pretty quickly. But I've used this for quite a while and I've never had any issues with it. So if you don't want to try out a handbrake without spending an absolute fortune, you can definitely try one of these. It'll last you quite a bit, enough to get a feel for what a handbrake is like with a SimRig. I'll just move you guys down a little bit so you can see what else we're talking about. So underneath the handbrake, we have our flight simulator throttle control. This is the Logitech X56. This is the throttle box itself. So I have that mounted to the rig permanently, so it's nice and sturdy. I don't have any issues with flexing, and then I'll have the stick put away separately, and then when I want to use it, I can just pull it out and plug it in. It seems to work quite well for me. If you're not into flight sims, obviously you won't have this on your rig, but if you are, this is a really cool way to mount it, just with a little bit of aluminium profile attached to the side. It just sticks really, really nicely and it makes it nice and sturdy. So next to the throttle box, we actually have our microphone arm. So this is a Rode PSA-1 mic mount. It is fantastic. It has good swivel. I can move it anywhere I need to without having too much of a worry. I really like having a good quality microphone for the content side of things. Again, if you're not making content, then this probably isn't that relevant. But if you are making content and you do want to step up your audio game, this is definitely a good choice. Before we have a quick look at the PCs and go downstairs to explain how this all works, let me show you the mouse. Look, I understand when you're looking at a rig that looks this ridiculous, why would you want to talk about a mouse? But this is very important, okay? I feel like this is probably one of my favorite things about this entire rig. This mouse is the Logitech trackball. It's a fantastic mouse. It's a little weird using a trackball mouse if you've never used one before, but the reason that I like it is it can sit on my lap and I can move the mouse without ever having to need space to move a mouse around. But that's not the coolest thing, is on this mouse there's a little button on the top, and you can see that there. It changes between 1 and 2. And what that mouse button does is that will go from one Bluetooth connection to the wireless dongle that comes with the mouse. So I can use one mouse for both PCs. You're starting to see a theme here. One of the biggest problems about having a dual PC setup is the fact that you need two mouses, you need two keyboards. It gets very cluttered and it's very annoying. So to have both of these that do both devices, it's fantastic. It's really freaking good. Anyway, let's stop fangirling over some keyboards and mice. Let's show you the PCs. I'll show you what the capture card looks like, and then we'll run downstairs and I'll explain exactly how this all intertwines together. Okay, I have to stand behind the camera for this part because, like I said before, the rig is gigantic, which means there's not a lot of space behind it or around it to really get in and show you what's going on. So this is gonna have to do, I'm sorry. Now the PC on the right-hand side, this is the main rig PC. So this controls the SimRig. That's all it does, it just does the SimRig. Now, like I said at the start of the video, this is more than enough. You do not need to have this second PC. This is just a choice that I've decided to make myself. But if you only have the singular PC, this will do the stream, this will do all the content you wanna do, recording, plus do the sim. It will do everything. You really don't need to have both, but if you do, this is how I set it up. So with that said, this is our stream PC. Now you can probably see quite a large difference in the size of both of these computers. This is not a super high spec PC. All this PC really needs to do is render all the extra things that we add into our stream, our alerts or the rewards, all the custom things that we've put onto our stream. It just needs to render that because the way that I have mine running, this actually shows the gameplay. There's a capture card down here that displays the gameplay, and then this one will just need to put it out. So it's not like this is trying to record or capture anything. All the capturing is done externally through a capture card, and then this is just putting it on the stream. So it really lightens the load of this PC, which allows us to add a lot of custom things to our stream and make things a little bit different without affecting the way that the gameplay looks. Let's just zoom into this spaghetti wire real quick so I can hopefully explain a couple of things as to what's going on here. So like I said, stream PC up the top, main rig down the bottom. Right here in the center, this is actually a internet routing box because we have two PCs. We want to make sure that we can split the internet and get a wide connection to both. Right next to that, you can see this little black box. Now this box is an external capture card. So when we get downstairs, I'll explain how this is all plugged in and how this is working. But this is an AVerMedia Gamer Ultra, which means that I can capture a native 1440p resolution, which is what these monitors are, from the main rig without having to compress or change the resolution until it gets onto the stream. So it's kind of a different situation for the stream because we're not streaming in 1440p, but when I'm making YouTube videos or things that I want to have a better quality capture, then I do have the option of getting this to capture 1440p at 120 Hertz. But you can see there's an absolute mess of cables. One of the biggest things about having a two PC setup is there are so many extra cables that you don't really think about until you have to hook one up. Let me just move the camera here so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. All of these cables, all of these wires, everything through here. I mean, I can barely get it over the pedal plate into both of these PCs. It is ridiculous. It really is insane. But in saying that, if you weren't streaming or making content or needing the second PC, all of these cables up here would pretty much be irrelevant. You wouldn't really have them. You wouldn't have any of this stuff here. So there really is a lot of extra mess that comes with having that second PC. So it's totally up to you whether you think the quality gain that you may get with a second PC is worth having to deal with all of that. I really hope that's everything. I don't think I've missed anything, but I mean, I probably have. Now that you know what the rig looks like, you know where the PCs are, you know where everything is sort of sitting in orientation, we're gonna jump downstairs and I'm gonna quickly show you exactly how all of these things sync up together and work as one. Because it really did take a lot of stuffing around to try and work out how to make this happen. Anyway, let's go downstairs and I'll run you through it. Welcome to the office, I guess. There we go, that's a little bit better. Now I'm gonna do my best to explain this in the simplest way that I possibly can, because I know that it can get quite confusing, and if you don't have a lot of experience with it, it can look pretty daunting. I went through exactly the same thing, so I know how you feel. Let me explain how I did it. I'm gonna try my best to put up some hyper-professional graphics to make this a little easier to understand. So let's start off with our rig PC. This is gonna go up the top here. So this is the main PC that runs our SimRig. It does everything that we want when we're not streaming and we're just using it for ourselves. It's always working for the SimRig. That's its sole purpose. That's what it does. Now this PC is running the rig with 3 monitors. So this uses 3 32-inch curved monitors, and that's what that rig is running. They're all running at 1440p at 120 Hertz. That's what the monitors are running at, and that's what the rig is controlling. So far, so good. So just to add to the SimRig PC, we're gonna add this. Now this is the GoXLR Mini. This is what routes all the audio from the SimRig to the Stream PC. I know we haven't got there yet, but we're leading into it. So the Go XLR is going to control all of the audio from the SimRig. We can change music levels, game volumes, microphone volumes. We can mix an entire audio for the SimRig with the Go XLR, and it works fantastic. Now we're going to make things just a little bit more complicated. We're going to add this. This is the Stream PC. So the main job, like I said upstairs, of this PC is to show all of the images and sort of put everything together so we can send it out to the stream, or we can record it for a YouTube video. So that's essentially what the Stream PC does. When you think about it that way, it makes it a lot easier to understand. The SimRig PC does everything to do with the SimRig, and the Stream PC, or the Content PC, I guess we'll call it, that essentially compiles everything and then sends it out or records it. So now that we have the audio and the visuals for our SimRig ready to go, this will work and operate, and you can use your SimRig like anybody would. But now we need to work out a way to get the gameplay from the SimRig over to the Stream PC. And that's where our capture card comes in. So the capture card that we use is the Live Gamer Ultra. It's an external capture card. It uses a USB connection and it plugs in via HDMI to the PC you want to capture data from. The reason that I like to use this card so much is because it does have a higher resolution availability. I have used things like an Elgato HD60S, but that only has a 1080p maximum, whereas the Live Gamer Ultra allows you to do 1440p, which is what the monitor's resolution is, so then it works all together and it has to be allowed. I'm not going to go too far into specs of like what resolutions are going to work with what capture cards and all that sort of stuff. That's unfortunately information that you're going to have to do some research on, but for my situation, the Live Gamer Ultra works really well with my 1440p monitors. Now, when you are using a capture card like this, there are two different ways to get your picture from the SimRig into the PC that you're going to be making the content with. You can either use a pass-through, which is essentially using a HDMI cable from the SimRig into the capture card and then into the monitor that you want to use, whilst plugging a USB from the capture card into the Stream PC. I hope that makes sense. So essentially the image from the Stream PC is passing through the capture card into the monitor, and there's a USB cable that's connected to the Stream PC, reading that information whilst it's being passed through. That is a really simple way to use your capture card, and it does allow a really good connection. You know it's always going to work, and it's a very simplified way to get this done. The one problem I found when I was using that method is that both PCs need to be running to have that image work, because the capture card needs to have power. Now, yes, you can unplug it from the capture card and go straight into the monitor when you don't want to make content, and then it's a straight connection from the SimRig into your monitor. But if you're like me in my situation and everything's really cluttered, it's not a lot of space to get in and out and change cables out, that's not really the best option, which is why I use the second method. So what I do is I plug the capture card into the Stream PC with the USB-C cable, and then I plug a HDMI cable from the SimRig into the capture card, and that's it. So there's only one HDMI going from the SimRig into the capture card, and then a USB cable going from the capture card into the Stream PC. Now, doing it this way will confuse your main PC, because what it's going to see that capture card as is another monitor. So when you plug it in, if you go to your Windows preferences and look at your monitors, you'll see that there's a separate monitor there, which is your capture card. For some people that may work well. For me, it didn't really. So now that it's all plugged in and the SimRig is reading that capture card as a separate monitor, what I do is I go into a program called the NVIDIA Control Panel, and I actually clone my middle monitor with the capture card. So everything that that capture card is seeing is exactly the same thing that I see just on the middle monitor. And by doing it that way, I can use the triple screens for things like iRacing, Assetto Corsa, anything that we want to use a triple monitor on, I can see that. But the stream will only see that middle monitor, because that's the only one that's being cloned to the capture card. So that's how I get my video from the SimRig into the Stream PC. The reason that I like to use the second method with the capture card is that when the Stream PC is not on, the SimRig still works as normal, and then when I turn the Stream PC on, it then clones the monitor again because that was the last saved setting, and everything works seamlessly. When I turn the Stream PC off, it disconnects that monitor, and then everything still works. It's perfect. Now, unfortunately, video is only half of it. You still need to work out the audio, which is where the Go XLR Mini comes in. So I'm not going to include the audio splitter and the auto tune box and all that sort of stuff that I have running into my setup, because it is absolutely ridiculous and you don't need to have all of that stuff. So I'm just going to run you through the basics. If you want to know how those other things work, leave me a comment. I'm just not going to include it in this video. So the audio side of things are actually a hell of a lot easier. We'll jump back up to our rig PC. So you have the rig, and then you have your Go XLR Mini that's plugged into your rig PC. And like I said before, this then controls all of the audio for your SimRig. Music, gameplay, microphone, all of that stuff you can mix with your SimRig. All you then need to do is get your Stream PC and run one 3.5mm to 3.5mm auxiliary cable. It's just an aux cord, that's all you need. And run it from the back of the Go XLR's line out into the line in of your Stream PC. So it's essentially sending the information to receive the information. And the way that I like to do it like this is because the Go XLR with the SimRig is already mixing all of the audio. You can set the levels on the audio, you can set your microphone level, your gameplay, your music, you can control everything through the SimRig and then send that mixed audio signal through to the other Stream PC. That way, if you don't want to use the Stream PC, you can still use the benefits of the Go XLR with your main rig. You can still use it every day, and then whenever you want to make content, it's ready to go and you have a great audio interface to use for your streams. Now, the last thing that we have to do for the audio is take another cable, exactly the same as the first one, and run it from the line out of the Stream PC in to the line in of the Go XLR. And what that does is then send all of the desktop sounds that you'll hear from the Stream PC into the Go XLR. So you can hear things like alerts, you can hear redeemables, you can hear all those sort of things that are happening on your stream yourself. That's all routed within the Go XLR software, but essentially in the way of physical cables that you need to plug in. That's it. You have two cables running to each PC through the Go XLR, a line in and a line out. That's it. It's the simplest thing and the easiest way to work it out. And then once you have all of that information into the Stream PC, it's only as simple as then selecting different audio sources, different video sources, setting up your stream, and then everything's good to go. Now, I know that this has probably been a very confusing video, but if you are in this situation, I hope this has helped you out. If there's something that I've missed, or if you have a question on something that I didn't explain in the best way, please leave me a comment. I will do my best to help you out. I don't have all the answers, like I said, but I have a little bit of experience and I'm happy to try and share it if I can. I really do hope this video was at least kind of helpful. So if it did help you out, leave me a comment, let me know. I would love to know if this has resolved an issue for you. If you guys like this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. Also subscribe. I post new videos every week and you don't want to miss them. If you guys want to come and check out our stream and see exactly how we do it live and how it all looks, come and join us. I'll leave the schedule and the link in the description below. Come and say what's up. Let me know you found this video. I would love to meet you. If you guys want to join us on any of our other social media, I'll leave all the links in the description. Come and say hello. Other than that, I'm going to leave you guys to it. I love your faces. Enjoy the rest of your day. And bye!